A plague-ridden city kneels beneath a bruised sky, its holy banners torn and drifting like funeral shrouds. In the courtyard of the citadel lies a pale body, the last queen of Jerusalem, her skin cold, her hand still gripping the ring of the man she destroyed her kingdom for. The scent of incense mingles with ash, and the wind carries the hymn of dying faith. Every stone seems to whisper judgment. Every bell tolls not for victory, but for the death of devotion. Once her laughter filled these marble halls. Now her silence is a sermon. They called her Sibylla, sister of the Leper King, daughter of Jerusalem, lover of the wrong man. And in this courtyard, beneath the light of a God who no longer answers, her story begins where holiness ends. No prayer could save her, no crown could protect her, and no love could be pure enough to survive the weight of divine expectation. What kind of mercy turns a queen into a warning? Perhaps love was never her sin. Perhaps it was her faith in it. And tonight both lie broken beneath the same dying sky. Before her death became a legend, Jerusalem still glimmered, a city of faith and fever, wrapped in gold, light, and dust. It was the 12th century, the age of crusades and relics, when belief itself was a weapon sharper than any sword. Within its walls stood a teenage king, Baldwin IV, a boy called blessed by priests and cursed by his own body. Leprosy crawled through his veins like a slow fire, yet he ruled with eyes that made armies tremble. His sister, Princess Sibylla, walked beside him through the perfumed halls of the royal palace, where every prayer smelled of power. The nobles bowed to the cross but plotted in whispers. The priests blessed armies that sinned before sunrise. Jerusalem was a kingdom balanced between miracle and decay, a holy flame burning on bones. And in the shadow of the Leper King, Sibylla learned the cruelest truth of royalty, that holiness demands a price, and love has no place in thrones built from prophecy. What holds a city together, and faith or fear of losing it? No one knew then that the crown resting on her brother's fragile head would one day fall into her trembling hands, and with it, the fate of Jerusalem itself. He was called the Leper King, Baldwin IV, ruler of the holy city, touched by God and cursed by the flesh. His body was a map of pain. The disease hardened his skin until he could not feel the weight of his own crown. Each morning, his servants wrapped his hands in silk so the sores would not show, and yet when he held his sword, the realm still believed in miracles. His sister, Sibylla, watched the disease take him piece by piece, helpless to stop it. The steady rot of divinity turned mortal. In him, she saw the fate of Jerusalem itself, beautiful, devout, and doomed from within. The court whispered that his suffering proved the kingdom's holiness. They prayed as his fingers blackened, and they cheered when he still rode into battle, his body already half a corpse. To live beside him was to learn how power disguises decay. And so, as his soul burned brighter, her faith began to fracture. Was this what divine favor looked like, or divine cruelty in disguise? She began to wonder if God had ever chosen Jerusalem at all, or if he had merely left it to die beneath a borrowed light. When Baldwin's strength began to fade, Jerusalem turned its gaze toward his sister, Princess Sibylla, graceful, devout, and dangerously unprepared for the weight of empire. In a court built on scripture and suspicion, her beauty became both her blessing and her curse. The nobles bowed before her, but their eyes glimmered with calculation, already measuring her worth as a future queen. She was the daughter of Amalric, the niece of Crusaders, the sister of a dying king, the last unbroken thread in the tapestry of a holy kingdom unraveling. At night she prayed beside her brother's sickbed, his breath rattling like wind through armor, and felt the crown's shadow stretch across her own heart. The council spoke of heirs, alliances, and bloodlines, but not of the woman behind the crown. To them, Sibylla was not a person. She was a vessel for power, a womb for politics, a symbol of continuity carved from her brother's suffering. What they didn't see was that her silence was not weakness. It was the sound of someone learning to survive in a world where obedience was safer than love. And yet, deep inside her, a spark had already begun to burn against fate's cold hand. He arrived from the west like a storm wrapped in armor, Guy de Lusignan, a French knight of noble birth and reckless ambition. He had charm where others had loyalty, beauty where others had faith, and when Sibylla's eyes met his across the marble courtyard, prophecy began to bleed into temptation. Against the counsel of every lord and bishop, she let her heart defy the kingdom. Some said she was bewitched, others said she was simply human, hungry for warmth in a city built on miracles and stone. In the candlelit corridors of the palace, they met in silence, their love a sin wrapped in secrecy. To love him was to defy her dying brother, to betray a dynasty, to gamble with salvation itself. Yet for the first time, she felt alive, as if God had turned his gaze away, and she was finally free to be seen by someone, not worshipped by everyone. When the courtiers discovered the affair, they whispered that Jerusalem had found its Eve, and that the serpent wore a knight's face. Was this love, or was it prophecy, the kind that begins with a kiss and ends in fire? Whatever it was, the crown would never forgive her for it. The sick room smelled of myrrh and death. Baldwin IV lay upon sheets stained by medicine and blood, his face half shrouded in linen, his eyes still sharp with the fire of command. When Sibylla entered, the room fell silent. King and sister, saint and sinner, faith and rebellion meeting in the same dying light. He begged her to see reason, to remember that love does not protect crowns, it destroys them. His voice trembled, not from weakness but from grief. If you marry for love, you'll lose the crown. But his words were already too late. Outside those chamber walls, the court was splitting, nobles swearing loyalty to the queen's heart or to the king's failing hand. Sibylla knelt beside him, feeling the cold creeping through his skin, the same chill she felt in her own faith. To her, Guy was not a curse. He was escape from the holy prison her birth had built. The more her brother pleaded, the deeper she believed that choosing love was defiance worth dying for. Yet in Baldwin's eyes, she saw the prophecy he could not stop, that Jerusalem would burn for the same reason he was dying, because even the faithful forget that flesh is not eternal. And as he turned away, tears seeping through his wrappings, the kingdom began to fracture with him. When Baldwin's body was finally carried to the cathedral, the bells tolled for a dying king and for a living curse. Within weeks, Sibylla defied the council, the clergy, and the echo of her brother's warning. In the church of the Holy Sepulchre, beneath flickering candles and uneasy priests, she crowned herself queen, and with trembling hands, placed a second crown upon Guy's head. The incense burned too thick. Even heaven seemed to choke. Outside, nobles tore their banners in protest. Some called her the Bride of Jerusalem, others the betrayer of Christendom. What was meant to unite the realm instead cracked it open like an old wound. The same people who once kissed her robe now spat her name like blasphemy. The knights refused to fight under her husband's banner, and merchants prayed for new rulers before war found them. In secret chambers, charters were forged and alliances broken, the holy city turning upon its queen like a body rejecting its own blood. And yet Sibylla smiled through the storm, believing love would make her unbreakable. But power never blesses affection. It devours it. The moment she shared her crown, she signed her city's death warrant. The heat came first, a choking, merciless heat that turned breath into dust. Then came the silence, before the screaming began. July 1187. The banners of Jerusalem shimmered on the horizon of Hattin, where the Holy Army met its end beneath a sky that seemed to watch without mercy. Sibylla's husband, King Guy, led thousands to war against Saladin, the Sultan whose patience had outlasted the pride of Christendom. The battle lasted only hours. The Crusader army, blinded by faith, burdened by relics, and betrayed by thirst, was surrounded and slaughtered. When the true cross was captured, soldiers said even the wind wept. In the city, bells rang again, not in triumph, but in terror. The Holy Sepulchre echoed with prayers that went unanswered. Sibylla stood on the ramparts as the horizon burned red, watching a kingdom vanish into the sand. She had loved a man who promised victory and delivered silence. Jerusalem fell not with the sword, but with the weight of a single decision, a queen's love misplaced. By autumn, the crescent flag flew above the citadel, and the city of God became a city of ghosts. Some said even the stones bled that day. And somewhere in the desert, among the corpses of saints and sinners alike, Guy de Lusignan was taken in chains. When word reached her that Guy had been taken by Saladin, Sibylla did not flee with her court or seek refuge among the remaining lords. Instead, she shed her jewels, wrapped her hair in a black veil, and followed the path of prisoners into captivity. Queens were not meant to kneel beside their fallen kings, but she did, willingly. In the squalid tents of Acre, surrounded by the moans of the dying and the stink of rusted chains, she held her husband's hand, as if the world outside no longer existed. Her people called her mad, the nobles called her cursed, but she called it loyalty, the kind born from ruin, not romance. She could have bargained for her freedom, traded her name for survival, yet she chose the same darkness he had led her into. At night, the guards swore they saw her praying barefoot in the sand, whispering to a god who had long stopped listening. Perhaps she was not pleading for salvation at all, but for punishment equal to her love. For when the heart defies heaven, it must live where mercy will not go. Captivity became their kingdom, a realm of dust, fever, and slow decay. The tents of Acre stank of sickness. Even the sea breeze carried death. Yet Sibylla remained beside Guy, her crown traded for rags, her prayers for whispers. When plague crept through the camp, it came for her daughters first. Tiny bodies shivering beneath linen as she sang hymns too broken to save them. The queen who once ruled Jerusalem now washed the dead with her own hands. Chroniclers would later write that she died with serenity, but they lied. She fought for every breath, clutching the same ring she had worn on her wedding day, refusing to let it fall. Some claimed her final words were a promise. Tell him I still believe. Perhaps she meant God. Perhaps she meant the man who cost her everything. In the end, the plague showed no mercy. It took her quietly, as if the heavens wanted no sound in her passing. They buried her in the dust outside the walls she had once defended, and when the wind rose that night, the torches flickered as if Jerusalem itself had shuddered. Love had outlived her reign, but not her body. History is never kind to women who choose love over obedience. In the cold ink of the chroniclers, Sibylla of Jerusalem is remembered as the queen who doomed a holy city, the foolish sister of a saintly king, the lover who mistook passion for destiny. But the truth, buried beneath centuries of sermons and scrolls, whispers something gentler. She was born into a world where faith was currency and compassion was weakness. Every man around her believed he was serving God. She was the only one who dared to serve her heart. They call it her downfall. Yet what greater rebellion can there be in a kingdom built on fear than to love without permission? Jerusalem would rise and fall again under different kings, different crosses, and different names. But her story outlasted them all. Pain has a way of surviving the empires that cause it. And perhaps that is her legacy, not ruin, but remembrance. For in the silence of her failure lies the most human truth of all, that no crown is heavy enough to crush the heart completely. Even now, when the bells of the old city ring, some say you can still hear another echo beneath them. A woman's voice, soft and unrepentant, whispering through stone. Love did not destroy Jerusalem. Fear did.